Welcome to The Big Ones, a look at popular game music and what makes it so loved. Today is all about the NES sci-fi classic Metroid. Metroid released in Japan on August 6, 1986, just over 30 years ago, and introduced a sense of exploration and atmosphere that console games just didn't have at the time. You play as Samus the bounty hunter who, spoiler alert, is among the first female game protagonists. She has to track down and defeat Mother Brain, collecting power-ups and exploring the planet Zebes along the way. Or is it Zebes? The soundtrack reinforces its gameplay loop with a creepy and ominous sci-fi vibe, unlike anything else the NES era had seen. The music for Metroid was created by highly prolific NES composer Hirokazu Tanaka, usually known as Hit Tanaka. Tanaka started his career creating sound chips and sound effects for Nintendo's early 80s arcade games, such as the sound of Mario running and jumping in the original Donkey Kong, and he started doing composition with Donkey Kong 3. He went on to compose many other smaller but beloved Nintendo games, such as Wrecking Crew, Balloon Fight, Kid Icarus, and Super Mario Land. But Metroid is among his best soundtracks, and certainly one of the most influential. Metroid contrasts strongly with other games at the time. It is similar to most NES games in that the soundtrack is really easy to digest. It's only 12 tracks, and each one's pretty short. But Tanaka's approach to the soundtrack wasn't to create catchy melodies or leave you humming tunes for hours after turning off the system. Most game music at the time, in Hit Tanaka's words, had upbeat pop-like lilting melodies. But he took issue to this, as he thought that this uplifting musical style wasn't appropriate for all games. So his goal for Metroid was to create the antithesis to this trend. This resulted in an incredibly unique, creepy, and strange soundtrack. The music is far more ambient and spooky than your typical NES soundtrack, and even more ambient and spooky than your typical Hit Tanaka track. There are two main categories of music in Metroid: the heroic and melody-driven, and the ambient and atmospheric. The title theme is in the latter category. It instantly sets the mood. The droning fifth in the bass with the echoing 6-note melody fits perfectly, even with the sound limitations of the NES. Then the more hopeful B section gives the player a sense of determination in the face of the challenges within the game. After you hit start, you hear the intro jingle, and then you jump right into the Brinstar theme. Both of these are of the heroic and melody-driven variety, but as you delve deeper into the planet, the music gets more and more ambient, as promised by the intro theme. Kraid is my favorite of the ambient tracks, as it has just enough of melody to get stuck in your head. Norfair is dissonant and meandering. And Ridley's hideout is mysterious and droning. But to break up these ambient tracks are the many jingles found throughout the game. These are the longest lasting sounds from the original. There's the secret area theme you hear in the elevator rooms. And of course the item theme. After fighting your way all the way to the end, the music for the fight with Mother Brain is just a simple chromatic bass line with gross noises on the top. It's kind of the logical extreme of the ambient tracks. After you defeat Mother Brain, the heroic melodies come back for the escape. This track serves as a direct counterpart to the Brinstar theme, with multiple allusions and a similar overall structure. Then the final ending theme. The ending theme is vastly and intentionally different from the rest of the game. Hit Tanaka stated that the final track is the reward the player receives for successfully beating the game. It jumps across many different musical genres, starting as a continuation of the escape theme as the final text scrolls. Then, right as the credits start to roll, it shifts to a poppy melody with some droning march sounds from the main game. Then a chiptune dance party jumps in right before the finale. Metroid created a dark and adventurous world within the limitations of the NES, and the music does more than its share of the heavy lifting. Hip Tanaka's score fits the mood in ways few games from the time did, and his themes are still being reiterated to this day. And while I prefer the later games from a gameplay perspective, the original Metroid soundtrack set the mood that all later entries have built and elaborated upon, creating one of the greatest sci-fi game series around. Thanks for listening, and listen well.